All right, so hello everybody. My name is McKenzie Fox and I work with the Kentucky Horticulture Council. And today I'm chatting with Marissa from KCARD about farm to school grants, specifically targeted towards growers and food service directors. So, hi Marissa, how's it going?
Hey, Mackenzie, going well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Do you want to tell us just a little bit about your role at KCARD?
So one of the things I do is I try to think about ways and help farmers and others in the food system develop better farm businesses in the sense that they're more profitable and we're getting more bang for our food dollar, as it were, and bringing more of our food dollar back home. So.
Great. Yeah. And I have been working with the Hort Council on some farm to school projects, and we're trying to get more local food from our growers into our schools. And so that's why we're meeting today to just kind of talk about some opportunities for grants that farmers or food service directors might be interested in. So the USDA recently released their farm to school grant, RFP. And Marissa, do you want to just tell us a little bit about the USDA Farm to School Grant Program?
So the first thing is that it is a federal grant. It is due January 10th. Farmers, individual farmers, groups of farmers, food service directors, community nonprofits, they are all eligible to apply. And the reason for this grant is to help support getting more food into schools. There's kind of a few different aspects of that. You know, there's supplying the schools with the food. There's helping the kids learn more about growing their own food or where food comes from. And then there's also education around nutrition. So those are kind of the three big pieces of farm to school. And this grant is here to help support that by developing relationships between farmers, schools, and an educational curriculum around growing produce or other farm goods.
Right. And so out of all the opportunities that the grant outlines, what do you think make the most sense for our growers and our food service directors?
So Mackenzie and I have had a long conversation about what makes sense for growers to apply for. And really, for a very small scale grower, this grant would be difficult. You have to ask yourself some questions. How good is my accounting and record keeping? Because this is going to be a bear of a federal grant that will require quite a bit of reporting. In order to actually get money for it, you're going to have to spend some time making sure your systems are up to date and up to par for them and learning new federal systems just to apply. If you're to the point that you think you're ready to do that, great. One of the things that I think makes most sense, we've actually seen farmers go for the implementation grant, which is a little bigger. But if you're really ready to work with a school system, you know how you're going to do it, and you have an idea of how much you want to sell to them, how you're going to get it there, and it's kind of already all worked out, maybe that's the way to go. I would argue that maybe you try to get your local food service director or another nonprofit so that you're not handling that grant reporting burden. Another option, if you don't have everything all worked out, which most of us don't, and even if it's not, you know, you're kind of at the step one of introducing yourself to a school, they have what are called turnkey programs where you can get up to $50,000. And one that you might think about is the Farm to School Action Plan, because it gives you money for the partners to work together and develop a plan for how to get things into schools, and even money for a pilot. A couple of things to keep in mind: these grants do require match. It can be in kind. It could be your time, a food service director's time. If you had someone facilitating some planning meetings and were able to contribute their time, that can be considered match if it's not from a federal source. The other thing to think about is this grant does not actually pay you to buy food from farmers. Only 10% of it can be used for food purchases, and that just has to be for promotional or educational or sampling purposes, which is a great way to get it in. And under the Farm to School Action Plan, you can get $50,000 for 12 months, and it will help you with piloting is under that. The other good thing about the turnkey is the plans are already laid out. So
all of the activities that you must accomplish through a turnkey grant are already laid out, and you're just asked to basically just discuss how you're going to accomplish those objectives, which
And
makes it easier for sure.
it does. And if you're a food service director or maybe a teacher at a school and you're wanting to do like an edible garden project, they have a turnkey program for that. They have for state agencies a turnkey program for producer training. Only state agencies can apply for that. And they actually have, if you're, say, an ag teacher or someone who oversees ag programs at a school, they have a turnkey program for ag education, development, and delivery. So those are ways to go to help get your schools more involved in the food system.
Yeah, awesome. So just to reiterate, the project that you would maybe recommend the most for a beginning farmer would be to partner with a local community partner. Like it could even be like a health department or a local community organization, and start with an action plan to kind of try things out, figure out, develop those relationships with food service directors and other community partners, and then go from there.
Yeah, that's actually, if you don't have an existing relationship with a school, or you need to strengthen how you do transactions and delivery and everything, I think the action plan provides you the funding for everyone to spend time sitting at the table and developing that plan of how to go forward, and do, up to 10% of it can be piloting, getting food into kids and seeing how it goes. So yeah, I think that would be a plan that is easier to apply for. It's only a year. And you can get your foot in the door and let all the players see how they can work together with a lower risk.
Great. And what are some ideas that you have for eligible projects? So we talked about the turnkey grants, but what about like implementation projects? What are some projects that farmers or food service directors could do within those grant programs?
I think that developing, we've seen people actually hire people in the school system to be able to directly get stuff from farmers, and developing how the delivery system works. Looking at how, one thing to mention is that for an implementation project, something that's eligible is buying equipment to handle increased local food. A lot of our schools are not set up for unprocessed agricultural product, whether it's raw hamburger or raw cucumbers. They're not set up. They don't have the, maybe they need a different kind of oven. They need new knives. They need new shredders. They need a way to expediently make hamburgers. All these things are not currently set up for most school systems. So they could actually use that and then have someone on staff to help develop the relationships with farmers. We've seen that. I think that the combination of those two things has worked well. And with an implementation, you can go ahead and put the educational component in an edible garden. And so you could actually do all three.
Yeah. And just like in the turnkey grants, you could do taste testing, like pilot projects to test out new foods and see if the kids like it, or just expose them to different local foods that maybe they've never tasted before.
Yeah, we've seen them used that way, and it seems to really help develop the relationship for the farm and the school and the education component. So.
Right. And kids are picky eaters. So to give them an opportunity to try something new, it's just exposing them to food that is healthy for them. And maybe eventually through that exposure, they'll start to like those fruits and vegetables or meats too. So awesome. And you talked a little bit about the match, but can you just talk a little bit more about that? So what is the match that's required, to reiterate that, and also like what sources might a farmer or even a food service director have to use as match?
So you could actually use your own time as match. You can't use buildings or equipment. So anything that would be eligible for the grant. So if you were going to purchase something or pay someone to do something for the grant, you can use that as in kind. So if you wanted to use a person's time, you can figure out how many hours they're going to spend. And a lot of times we'll go to like the Bureau of Labor and Statistics website and see about what appropriate value for that person is, especially if we're talking about farmer time. Mm-hmm. The other things we've used as match, if there's something that the farmer can donate or give as match to help with an educational garden. Or if maybe you have a partner that already has some educational curriculum and they're willing to help develop that and deliver that at the school. That could even be matched.
Okay.
If it doesn't come from federal funds.
Right. And it's a 25% match required.
So here's where it gets complicated. If you have a $75,000 grant, $25,000 would be matched.
Oh, okay. So it's the total project cost is you have to have
total project cost, not 25% of the grant. And the terrible thing about federal grants is if you make that mistake, you're ineligible. They won't let you come back and do it. So the cost on a $50,000 grant is going to come back closer to, say, a third of 50,000. It's going to come back closer to 21,000, between 20 and 21,000. Quick math. So
okay. So make sure you don't mess that up like I did.
So, and on that note, we're here to help. We can help farmers. We can help food service directors. KCARD specifically has the ability and the funding through the Ag Development Board and other places to be able to help you prepare federal grant applications. If you've never heard of SAM.gov, DUNS, or grants.gov, we are here to help.
So reach out to KCARD.
Yes, it's what we'll do. And McKenzie could probably do a great job of helping you think through your project and develop it. We all would be happy, but the key is if you want some help, contact us now. Look at it, decide if you want to go forward, or even you just have questions, feel free to give us a call or an email, and we would really appreciate it.